So dear brothers and sisters, I'm sure some of you know people who have just a wonderful interest in other people. I think maybe it's a thing from my parents' generation. I'm not sure if our generation have the same kind of thing, but with my parents' generation, they're very interested in how everyone is doing. You know, like my parents, so those from my parents' generation, the neighbours and the friends and anyone from town that they know, they'll always ask, well, how's Thomas, my brother, and how's Maria, my sister, and how's Norma, and how's Father Patrick get on? And they ask for everyone. And then they remember, I remember last year they had this, they had the other child, they moved house, and they remember all the details from all the children from previous years. And then my mum asks them, how are all their 17 children doing? And you get the full lay down, low down, and everything that's going on. And my mom is actually really interested in listening to how they're all doing. Now, again, there's just so much information, I can't hold it all. But the point is, they're interested in other people. Or like even our cook here, Alan, whenever there's an incident, an accident, somewhere up the country, in Galway, there's some little girl is crossing the road, she gets knocked down and killed. Alan, our cook, will be in tears. And I remember this actually happened a couple of months ago. Some girl got killed up in Galway, I think, and I said, did you know her or know the family? No, but she was only 15, and he was crying. And I thought it's actually lovely that you'd care so much about someone you don't know, and a family you've never met or seen, but you actually care. Now, as long as we do something useful with that, I mean, crying is nice, praying is better. So to actually empathise, to care so much about other people, it's a wonderful gift. I think previous generations had that more. I think it's probably because in previous generations we weren't as affluent, so we weren't as rich. So people had to share more and take care of each other more. You know, and definitely in the farming community, I know for ourselves, like we had a mower for cutting the grass, and then a friend of ours had the hay bob for turning the hay. So we'd give him our mower, he'd use it, and then he'd give us his hay bob, and we'd turn the hay, and then we swapped machinery because no one could afford it all. So we had to kind of take care of each other. Then if the weather was going to break and we couldn't get the hay in, we'd help the neighbour get his hay in. He'd come and help us get our hay in before the weather would break. So we kind of had to take care of each other, make sure everyone's okay. Like, it was, I think, a wonderful way for a community to build up empathy, so that you care about the other. You take an active interest in the other. Why do I say this? John's Gospel, the translation that we read here isn't the one that we usually hear. John here says, excuse me, he must grow greater and I must grow smaller. The translation that we probably have heard a little more often is, he must increase and I must decrease. Now, in today's mentality, in today's ears, you hear, I must decrease, and I'm sure alarm bells start going off in your little woke heads about hang on now, me decrease? No, I must be elevated. My needs must be satisfied. I must be listened to, and all that I need and all that I require must be provided for me. And the world must adjust itself to my love language and my learning style and my mood and my tastes, and everything must be adapted according to me, because I'm important. And if you don't agree with me, you're wounding me and I'm feeling violated and you've crossed the boundary. So you're wrong, right? And like, this is what happens. This is what happens in schools where kids don't get what they want, and immediately it's all these kind of, victim mentality kicks in, and it's all about kind of crossing boundaries. Like, whoa, what do you mean crossing the boundary? I just said you're not the centre of the world, which is kind of a fact. You're not the centre of the world. But it's this kind of idea has really kicked in, that if has taken grip in contemporary society, that if my needs are not satisfied, the world is wrong. Everyone else is wrong. I am the centre of the universe, everything revolves around me, and as long as my needs are satisfied, I'll be happy. Which, of course, is complete rubbish. That needs to be called out. That is absolute rubbish. You get everything you want constantly. That makes you a spoiled little child with no empathy for another person's needs. No ability to love, because you can't put someone else's needs above yours. And very little ability to have faith, because you can't put God's desires, God's will above your own. So putting ourselves at the center of the universe, it is catastrophic for happiness, it's catastrophic for love, and it is catastrophic for faith. Because you cannot live any of those and put yourself at the center. And isn't that what we see? People growing increasingly unhappy, marriages increasingly unstable or outright catastrophic, falling apart, and faith declining. The more we put ourselves at the center, the less able to love we are. I must decrease, and he must increase. There's profound beauty and truth in this. And I was thinking about this today, and we mentioned this before, but it's, again, good to repeat these things. Virtue. Virtue stands in the middle of excess and deficiency, right? So virtue is in the middle. Virtue is in the middle. So let's think about self-esteem, for example. Excessive self-esteem. I'm awesome, I'm amazing, you all exist to serve me. God, you can serve me too while you're at it. Okay? And once everyone serves me and my needs, I'll be happy. Wrong. That's excess of self-esteem. Now, deficiency of healthy self-esteem is I'm useless, I'm nothing, it doesn't matter, you just ignore me, everything else is fine, you're all okay, you all take care of yourselves, I'll just, I don't matter. I don't matter. That's not true either. So again, just because we're not saying you're the center of the universe doesn't mean you're the scum of the earth either. Okay? There's actually something in the middle, where I recognize my value, I recognize that God thinks I'm worth dying for and has paid for my happiness, my freedom, my forgiveness with his blood. So that's my value. My value is indicated by God and what God is willing to pay for me. What's anything worth? What is anything worth? Anything is worth what people are willing to pay for it. I was even just looking recently at an article on the price of gold. So when people lack confidence in the economy, they start to invest in gold, because I think gold is a stable kind of a commodity. So the more people are confident in the economy, then they invest in stocks and shares. The price of gold goes down. The less people are confident in the economy, the more they start investing in a kind of a safe bet. So start investing in gold or oil, so then the price of gold will increase. So what's gold worth? What people are willing to pay for it. Or if you had a T-shirt like from Elvis, he wore this in concert in Nashville, right? What's that T-shirt? Let's call it a shirt, maybe it's better. What's that shirt worth? Well, effectively nothing. Well, it's €15 maybe for a shirt, I don't know. But it was worn by Elvis. Now, to most of you, it's probably worth not a whole pile. But to a hardcore Elvis fan, they may be willing to pay €1,000, €2,000 for that shirt worn by Elvis, sweated in by Elvis in Nashville, and unwashed since, So what's it worth? It's worth what people are willing to pay for it. That's what gives anything its worth. So what are you worth? You're worth what God was willing to pay for you. You're worth his life, his own lifeblood. So you have an infinite value. Not that you are not God, you're not infinite, but you've been paid, an infinite price has been paid for you. The blood of the infinite God. So that's your value. So again, virtue is in the middle. Virtue isn't that I'm the center of the world, and virtue is not that I'm useless and an absolute reject, and that's not true either. Truth is in the middle. I know who I am in the sight of God. I know my value in the sight of God. And I'm here on this planet to learn to love others, to put others' needs above my own, to serve others, to make sure everyone else is okay. And incidentally, that's actually how I find happiness. In the elevation of others, I receive joy. In teaching others, I receive joy. In taking care of others, joy isn't found just in money or fame, but it's that interior life where I know I have lived for the good of others. That's what brings kind of that deep satisfaction and joy and peace. It's authentic, selfless, self-giving love. So humility, C.S. Lewis says, humility isn't thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking about yourself less. It's not thinking less of yourself, I'm useless, I'm terrible, I'm awful. It's not thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. I don't have to spend all of my day thinking, how can I look prettier? How can I be more successful? How can I achieve more? How can I gain more likes, followers, popularity, money? My whole day is oriented around me and my satisfaction and my happiness and my pleasure. That's a highway to misery. Whereas when the center of our lives is, Lord, I know my value in your sight, and I want to live a life of love at the service of others. Show me how, where, who, and when. Lead me, that I can bring life and love into other people's lives. I must decrease, and you, Lord, must increase. And there we find the key to happiness. There we find the key to faith. There we find the key to love. I must decrease, and you must increase, Lord. So may the Lord today give us that confidence to decrease without fear that we'll be forgotten, to decrease without fear that we won't be loved, to decrease without fear that we won't be seen. You will be seen, you will be loved, you will be noticed, don't worry. You're a good person. Your joy does not come from the validation of other people. Your value and true joy comes from the God who created you, who loved you into existence. So may the Lord today renew our confidence in him, that as we decrease, our joy will increase, because he will increase. Amen.